Mark Levine, Excel Bradshaw Management Group, backflow prevention devices. We've heard this word thrown around for years, and a lot of buildings now are starting to get DEP violations because they're being told by the New York City Department of Environmental Protection that they need to install a backflow device. And it's not just limited to residential buildings, it's also going to hit commercial and industrial use buildings as well. But one thing that a lot of buildings get flagged for is if you have a laundry room, let's say in your basement, and it's a commercial use because it's not private and it's for a large amount of residents, unit owners, shareholders, that's considered a commercial laundry. So that is one reason why you actually do need to get a backflow device installed. And the backflow device, what it's going to do is it's going to prevent all that chemically treated and dirty water from backing up into the city's domestic water system. So it's a protection for everybody out there. So as I said, it's not just residential buildings that are going to incur this expense. It's actually going to be a lot of different uses. So if you have in your building, if you have a dental or a medical office, if you have a greenhouse, if you're a supermarket, if you are a nursing home, if you are a tannery, if you produce chemicals and they leach into the water, it's a good bet that you're going to have it. So what happens when you get notice from DEP that you have to install a backflow device? So the onus is on the owner of the building. So in a co-op, it could be the corporation. In a condo, it's a condominium association. You have to essentially hire either an engineer or a licensed architect that's approved to do this type of work, and they'll draw up a specification. They'll work with the master plumber, and that has to be approved by the city, and then it has to be installed. So if you have to attend the hearing from DEP and they're saying you don't have this backflow prevention device, you have to show up at the hearing. You could bring in all the signed documents showing that you're in process of moving forward with the backflow device, and they won't give you a violation. It's basically a lot of buildings wait to be kickstarted into this process, even though they know that they have to do it. But if you know and you haven't gotten the violation yet, that in anywhere in between 1 and 3 years, you're going to have to be doing the backflow device placement, because you know that legally speaking you're supposed to be. You could at least budget it out now so you're not hit with the large expense. And speaking of expenses, it could go from anywhere of let's say a one family house of $3,400 is what they estimate, to about $35,000 for a large-scale building, and that's per water line. And there are times where there will be multiple feeds coming into the building, and you need multiple backflow prevention devices installed. So if you have 5 buildings with 5 different laundry rooms, you're potentially looking at 5 times 25 to 35, depending on the people that you use and the plumbers and the engineers and the permits and all of those costs. So it does get expensive. So if you do get a notice from DEP, it's nothing to laugh about, because you will be cited for a violation and you'll be brought to a hearing and they'll tell you. Now, one thing that I could tell you just from past experience, when we've taken over new buildings, make sure that the New York City has your information, or at least your new managing agent's information on file, because what's happened in the past with us, especially, we've run into this a few times, they'll send it to the old managing agent. They're out of business and they're not forwarding anything to us anymore because they're not any longer in existence. And then they get cited for a violation. So and even though we switch up the multiple dwelling registration, which we have to do every year, they're on top of that. But for some reason, word didn't get to DEP that we're the responsible party. So just make sure that whoever it is looks into New York City. Just make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and make sure that they have all the correct information so that you don't run into a lapsed situation where you've gotten one violation, you've gotten another, and then suddenly you're looking at maybe a potentially huge fine. But all things considered, it's a relatively easy process once you're in it, even though it's expensive and it's time consuming. And for those people that have to pay for it, the shareholders, the unit owners, or if you're just individually owning a building, you as the owner, once you're through it, you're through it. But every year you have to get it tested. Think of it just like another elevator test. This is a backflow prevention device test, or just like your fire sprinklers, you get that tested. So just another expense to add to the line. But I hope that's helpful. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Facebook at facebook.com/XLBradshaw, on Twitter and on Instagram. We are at XLBradshaw. I'm Mark Levine. You can always email me, mblevine@ebmg.com. I always take your emails. I'm happy to respond to you. It's free advice, and I always like to take your emails and make them into videos, so anything that you're asking me could be helpful to everybody out there. So we'll look forward to seeing you next time.